Chapter 11. Trip Trap. The next day took the four deep into Nightmare Forest. The density of the trees was overpowering and sinister, and shadows of purple and black darted between the branches. Instinctively, they all walked closer together. No words were spoken as every eye searched the undergrowth for anything that might move, and every ear strained to pick up the slightest noise. All the while, Nightmare Mountain loomed above them, its very rocks and boulders formed into a giant evil face. The once glorious colours of the sun-filled valley had been swapped for the shades of morning. Following a river as dark as sin, they came upon a stone bridge. Sitting on the bridge, with its feet dangling over the edge, was a troll. Or at least, Jonathan assumed it was a troll, for it had all the characteristics of one. He was short, about 5 feet tall, with arms and legs of solid muscle. Huge, hairy, flat feet skimmed the surface of the water, while dumpy hands drummed fingers against the stonework thoughtfully. As they drew nearer to the bridge, the troll watched them with interest. Jonathan noticed his square forehead jutting menacingly over a nose that any prize boxer would have been proud to possess. Running from hairline to eyebrow was a long, angry scar straddled by metal staples. "First one to say trip trap over the bridge I go gets eaten by the troll," said Jonathan softly to the giggling princess. "Oh, get real," snarled the troll, his saucer-like ears having picked up every word that Jonathan had said. "If I ever get my hands on the guy what wrote the Three Billy Goats Gruff, I'll throttle him." Jonathan reddened instantly, and Ossian looked the other way, pretending he hadn't heard a thing. "Typical humans," the troll continued, grumbling furiously. "See a troll, straight away they assume we're gonna eat 'em." Picking up a green haversack, the troll jumped down from the edge of the bridge and lumbered over towards them. "Any fool knows that trolls are vegetarians." Looking Jonathan in the eye and poking his forefinger into the boy's chest, he said, "Right then, let's get the troll jokes over and done with." "I'm sorry," apologised Jonathan, clutching the sore point on his chest where the troll's steely finger had just jabbed. "I was very rude, but I must admit I didn't know that trolls were vegetarians."
Neither did I,
admitted Peck.
"Well, I did,"
lied Princess Marina. "Yeah, sure," they said in unison.
Are you waiting for something?"
asked Peck. "Yeah, for you guys, actually."
"For us?"
Peck was surprised.
"Why us?"
"When I heard about your quest against Witch Brimstone, I thought I'd join you, as I've a score to settle with her and all."
The troll clenched his fists tightly, but his eyes reflected only sorrow. Ossian sidled up to him. "How do you know about our quest?" he asked. Laughing with sudden merriment, the troll told them that every creature in the valley knew about them and their quest. Even the diamond carvers deep in the ore caves knew that at last someone was brave enough to stand up to the witch, and hopefully they'd soon be rid of her.
"I presume you too have a story to tell?"
asked the princess.
"Sit down and tell us why you are seeking revenge."
Forming a circle with the troll in the middle, he began his story.
"My name," he said, "is Pendergast Oakmonger, but for some time now my friends have called me Staplehead, for obvious reasons."
"With a name like Pendergast Oakmonger, Staplehead is quite a blessing."
The princess laughed, not caring that her remark was extremely rude.
"I'll have you know, madam, that Oakmonger is a well-respected name in the forest. I'm from a long line of master wood carvers, and apart from being taught to be an expert craftsman, I've been taught manners, which is a lot more than can be said for the likes of you."
The princess huffed and tossed her head.
"Get on with your story."
"Until a few months ago," he continued, "life ran as normal. My father and I had a very successful business carving the finest furniture from the fallen oak and beech trees in the forest. Our order books was full, they was, especially when we were commissioned to carve a desk for the study in King Vandorf's new palace. My father worked day and night on that desk. His carvings were the finest I've ever seen. So fine, in fact, that word of its beauty soon spread, and it wasn't long before Witch Brimstone paid us a visit.
Staplehead paused for a breath, and Jonathan could tell that the troll was getting to the point in his story that he would find hard to tell. Already his full bottom lip trembled, held at bay by two awkwardly splayed front teeth. Sighing deeply, he continued.
Witch Brimstone, of course, wanted the desk for herself, even though my father promised to carve her another. 'Twas not enough for her, she had to have the king's desk. When my father refused, she merely laughed in his face and ordered her shadow guards to take the desk to her home in Nightmare Mountain. 'Twas then that a fight broke out between my father and the guards. I knew nothing of what was happening, as I was out in the forest gathering wood for my own work. That was until I heard terrible laughter stabbing at my ears. Racing back to my father's workshop, I was just in time to see her raising her finger, and with her evil magic she brought the tools that my father cherished so much to life and ordered them to beat him till he lay motionless on the floor. I rushed in trying to defend him from the blows, and all the while I could hear her hysterical mocking laughter. In an instant she disappeared along with the desk and their shadow guards. At that moment the attacking tools plummeted to the ground, lying higgledy-piggledy, as though my father had just spilled them from his toolbox.
Wiping away a huge tear, he looked at the listeners.
I was too late to save my father. As I cradled him in my arms, he said to me, "All that I is in that desk. Don't let her take me away." Unfortunately, he didn't have time to tell me what he meant.
With sobs interrupting his words, he hissed venomously.
"I will not rest until she pays for my father's death."
Ossian, too, wept openly as he thought of his wife waiting for him and his baby so close to hatching time, desperately in need of his help. Even Princess Marina was lost in thought as she remembered her own reason for starting out on this quest. Peck studied Jonathan's face and saw despair etched on the furrows of his forehead.
What are your thoughts?
He whispered. Jonathan raised his head and looked sadly at the little red goblin. "There's so much hatred, Peck. Everyone out for revenge. Is that the only answer?" And he shook his head sadly. At that moment, Peck glimpsed the man within the boy and liked what he saw. Casting the gloom aside, Peck buzzed around their heads, clapping his hands.
Come on, my merry band of men! We've work to do!
Staplehead swung his haversack onto his back and led the party over the bridge towards Nightmare Mountain. From on high, Witch Brimstone watched the party's progress as she gazed into the fairy cloth.
"Look at them," she chortled. "Aren't they pathetic? 2 children, a goblin, a pint-sized sea serpent, and a wood carver. What do they think they can do against me?"
Draping her grotesque body over the beautifully carved desk, she laughed and laughed until the sound echoed throughout the mountains.